One. Hey, hi guys. So, happy Tuesday. Hope your week is going well. All that stuff for keeping safe and wearing your masks and all that. So this today is the day that I've been looking forward to for a very long time. So yeah, me and my special guests have been trying to plan something for a while now, and we finally things finally worked out. So I'd like to welcome back to the channel Miss Mocha Mommy, and she is right here with me.
Hello.
So Mocha Mommy, how have you been?
I've been really good.
That's good. Yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
been a minute. It's been a minute.
Yeah.
But I'm very glad to have you back to the channel. And I just want to state that, right now for everyone watching, that I'm very close to hitting 1,000 subs.
Yeah.
I'm very close to hitting 4,000 hours watched. Um, and so a large part of that is due to Mocha Mommy as well and her support. So I want to thank you, Mocha Mommy, for that. It's definitely, I'm definitely very grateful for, all your support. Ever since, basically, yeah, ever since you started watching. So I
Yeah,
appreciate
you
that.
make great content. You deserve it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So yeah, so sort of getting back on topic. So yeah, like I just said at the start of this interview, it's been a minute. So Mocha Mommy, why don't you catch us up into, sort of how you've been doing and what you've been up to?
Okay. Well, actually been doing a lot of back to school content. And I think it's really relevant because, of course, I'm a mom and my kids are going back to school. And I mean, I know when you look at your analytics, it's so funny how so many of my subscribers are closer to my children's age than my age. So I feel as if like things that I'm kind of going through as a mom, I'm also kind of going through as a content creator. So it's like a lot of questions and things that I'm navigating with my own kids. Some of those same questions are being asked by my subscribers. So I think that's been interesting. So it's kind of like we're kind of going through this journey together.
Yeah, absolutely. And when I first started this channel, like it wasn't that long ago. It was only this past April. So it's only been about almost 5 months. But honestly, when I first started, I didn't think that I would ever hit these numbers so damn quickly. But then I was talking to you and I was talking to some other people too, and like you guys are all telling me about how, if you want to hit these numbers, you got to be consistent. You know what I mean? It's all about the algorithm. You gotta sort of, play into
Excuse
the
me.
algorithm and whatnot and whatnot. And also, like you said, you got to be consistent. You got to be uploading, creating content pretty much like every day. So I kind of actually started doing that. I literally just started, hitting up hustling my ass off and just trying to like score as many interviews as I could, reach out to all the people that I thought would be really interesting and great to interview. And I also tried to set up blind dates, all that stuff over Zoom, and doing all these AMBW couples tags, all this stuff. And I just started doing a whole lot of things. I did group panels. So I can honestly say that this has sort of changed my life in the fact that I don't think I've ever hustled this hard before. I mean, like when it comes to just probably anything in life, it's definitely grind. And so for someone doing it for the first time like me, I've also jumped on other people's streams and stuff like that. And so I'm just trying to sort of just get used to this, the whole YouTube platform, as opposed to just like being like an audience member or viewer. And this time actually being a content creator. So it's been a very interesting thing for me, and you also you have such like a very strong and loyal fan base too. I feel like your viewers are very vocal. um and I've definitely
That's true.
noticed, yeah, I definitely noticed that on my channel as well. Sometimes they'll definitely comment on my channel as well, and they're definitely not afraid to voice their opinions even if it's something that I don't necessarily agree with. So but I definitely, but like I said, I enjoy that because that means that, what I mean? Like I'm in my mind, it's sort of not in my mind, but like in general, I'm creating content that, sort of is, I don't know, I guess it's good enough to get a response, I guess. But yeah, no, I definitely want to appreciate you. And I also want to turn back attention to sort of what you've been doing and a lot of videos, streams that you've been doing recently that I've seen. So you like to focus on like STEM, right? STEM.
Well, actually, it was generated by my audience.
Oh, okay.
They had kind of an interest in it because I'm in healthcare. They kind of wanted to know what I do. And I did talk to them about that. And then, of course, having been an instructor, I was given that information. But then they started getting interested in other topics like IT, engineering. And that was just a knowledge base that I didn't have. So I actually reached out to my subscribers. And my subscribers, who are, believe it or not, the person who helped me the most with creating the STEM content is actually like a 19-year-old student who was in the field of engineering. And she kind of helped me get the contacts, ask the right questions, because it was a place I had no experience in. And then I had saw that you had a few people who were around that same age group. And I'm hoping that, we can collaborate and help those people kind of come to the channel to also answer those questions, because it's just something that Black women are really underrepresented in. And if they know that they have support, they'd be a lot less apprehensive about asking the questions and being a part of it.
Yeah, definitely. I feel, especially when you say that, and I remember that one comment that, or not just one comment, but you've left this comment several times on my channel, is that, you know what I mean, like you enjoy the, like the variety of, like women, you know what I mean, that I've had on my channel. Because I think I've done up to like almost like 50 interviews so far, with like, yeah, 50 interviews. And I've met all sorts of different people from different walks of life, occupations, different, backgrounds, and, state and city, all that stuff. And it's very interesting to hear people's stories. Honestly, when I started this channel, I didn't really think that I'd be doing that. I thought I'd just be doing short films. But these interviews have been sort of unexpected, pleasant surprise. So like I said, it definitely, it kind of adds something, you know what I mean, to my life in a way. It also, you know what I mean, like just sort of enriching myself with, all this knowledge of, different lifestyles and different people and all that stuff, different occupations. So it's very interesting. And yeah, I would definitely love to like, collaborate with you, and also, I guess network and stuff like that. One, I was gonna reach out to you otherwise, but I'll just say it right now in the video. There was this interview that I did yesterday. Her name is Gigi, Gigi Monet. I don't know if you had a
Yeah.
chance. Yeah, she's great. And I feel like, unfortunately, there was certain circumstances that we kind of had to rush the interview a little bit with her, but I feel like I could just talk to her like for hours, because she's, well, first of all, I don't know how old she is, but she seems younger than me. But she also seems like one of those people who's very just like lived, I guess, like lived a lot of life, maybe, or, what I mean, gone through certain things. And
Yeah, she's
she,
had some amazing experiences. I'm so glad she shared it.
yeah, absolutely. And I think it'd be a great thing. I would love to bring her back on my channel, but I think like she would be, great for your channel as well. Like I feel like there's definitely a lot of things, stories that she has to tell that she didn't get to tell, on my interview with her. So I think, yeah, I think that'd be great. I'd love to see her on your channel. What else was I gonna say?
Yeah, good
Um,
looking out.
yeah, for sure. So I want to talk to you about Quan Fung, who we both interviewed. Um, and so I guess, like, what was your I guess, like, well, yeah, let me start over. I know that we both have interviewed him, but I also know that you probably talked to him about different subjects, different topics and whatnot. And I was just wondering, like, in general, like, what was your interest in him? Um, mhm.
Okay, well, because he was in engineering and he was so young. So I think that a lot of times people in my network, they're a lot older and they enter the job market at a much different time in our economy. So to talk to somebody who is new in the job market, who can talk a little bit about why they chose the educational path they chose, why they ended up choosing that particular field, now how they're navigating that field, especially at the entry level, like just somebody who had more relevant STEM experience as opposed to somebody who started 20 years ago, like myself. I've been in this field for over 22 years. So I would have no idea what the application process is now. There's been so much learning and adaptive techniques that we've had to take on in the healthcare field. What are kids coming out of school with now? Well, I can't even say kids, young adults coming out of school with now. And what are some of the things that are different from when I was first in the STEM field to now? So he definitely gave a lot of that information. He even talked about like his commute times to school, different scholarship opportunities he had, networking opportunities he had, the application process, career services navigation. Even though he was Canadian, it was still really relevant to things that students in America can relate to. So I was really, really glad that he like came and just shared his experience. Also, I'm so grateful that he like hit on the soft skills, because I think that people who are in math and science think that that's all they need. And he really kind of like drove that point home that yes, you need to be able to write well. Yes, you need to be able to communicate well. And yes, you have to be assimilate a little bit to the work culture. So I'm really glad that he said that without me having to be like that nagging mom who says, you got to make sure that your writing is, you know what I mean? It sounded better to have confirmation than to come across as like that nagging mom, because I know sometimes I can come across that way.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, it's really good. I was just wondering because on my interview that I did with him, it was mostly like me doing all the talking, and I'm not necessarily like criticizing him for that. I was just wondering, just in general. I mean, I think it's great that you got him to open up, a lot about that, and yeah, so that's wonderful. So Mocha Mommy, I was just wondering, like going forward, what are your I don't know if I asked this question last time, but what are your sort of long-term goals for your channel? And like maybe like the variety of certain subjects or topics that you haven't covered yet that you'd be more interesting and sort of, talking about further.
Well, I think that too. I think that there's a lack sometimes of like historical perspective of where we are like as Black women. Like certain times, I just noticed the Gen Z, they're a little bit critical of Gen X, and we should take that criticism. We should take that criticism to heart. But at the same time, I just want them to kind of understand where we're coming from and why things are the way that they are. And also, too, to present a more well-rounded picture, because I think that unfortunately, a lot of Black women get kind of boxed into like the urban culture, right? They get boxed into it. And then not realizing that that's not every Black woman's experience. That's not every Black woman's aspiration. So, and then especially like, you've been interviewing more like Black women who are in the diaspora, right? That might not even be their culture. So, but yet we're so unfairly stigmatized by it. So I just kind of want to put things into perspective of like this thing that's kind of driving that generational rift, and then maybe helping to bridge that gap by just better communication. So my subscribers have been dictating a lot of the content. And right now, because so many of them are students, they wanted to see more academic related content. Some of them there's a viral topic that's kind of going around, and I'm gonna kind of be making some videos to discuss those viral topics. And they really do dictate the content.
It's very interesting, yeah, because I'm learning with my audience, my viewers. It's like first of all, I'm eternally grateful to them because they've been there since like day one and like growing ever since. But I was just wondering, like, how do you sort of, what is one of your tips in terms of like engaging your audience and getting them to sort of maybe be a little bit more like vocal or like participate more or anything like that? Because I'm not sure whether or not I have that type of I don't have the knowledge of how to do that yet. And I've tried to do several streams, or yeah, several streams that weren't necessarily interviews. They were just like just chill, chat, get to know each other type of streams. But I found it so far it's kind of hard for me to do that, and I don't know how to do that. And I was wondering if you had any advice on how to do that.
I'll be honest, I think a lot of it has to do with being a woman, right? Like women can share a little bit more with other women. And also to privacy and anonymity. Like a lot of my subscribers interact with me more through my email than they do in the comment section. Because, you know, I did do I think about 4 or 5 STEM live, but I have about over a dozen emails coming from either STEM students or prospective STEM students or young professionals. So having that like level of privacy is like another thing that's helped me with engagement, because they may not comment, they may not necessarily like or share, but they definitely are watching. And then that word of mouth, you know, I see is what's been helping it grow. You know, I remember one woman did say, like, I shared your video with my niece. I'm like, okay, you're 26. How old's your niece? You know what I mean? Your niece must be a teen or younger. So it's kind of like the engagement on the screen and off. And then I also think it's being like a woman, and because they have questions about it. And it's like, so the word the Mocha Mommy actually comes from a group of Black stay-at-home moms who like network, right? The Mocha Moms. They're like a group of stay-at-home moms, and they arrange play dates. And it's just basically to help, you know, stay-at-home moms who sometimes struggle with isolation and not having adult conversation, or struggle with getting back into the workforce or finding the right preschool for their kids. It's like a network. And so that, I think, also maybe might bring down some apprehension, because if some women may have been raised by a Mocha mom, they might know a little bit more about what the channel is. Whereas AMBW, they still might be learning about it.
Yeah, that definitely brings up, you know, a lot of great points. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I was wondering why it's like, because like I said, I've done, I don't know, 6 or 7 or so of these streams, and it's just like, it's kind of discouraging, because it's like I feel like I'm kind of talking to myself, um, which is why it's like, for me personally, I find it better if I bounce off of someone else. So that's why it's just, I'm probably not gonna do the streams for a bit, but I think like going forward, the main focus of my channel after after I hit my numbers and get monetized is probably, I've actually had this plan for a while. So I still like doing the interviews, but the main focus is going to be doing the AMBW original short films, because you know, that, like I said, that's sort of the world that I come from, is film and TV background. That's what I went to school for. So it's something that I originally wanted to do. So I'm definitely looking forward to doing more of those short films, because I know I did like 3 or so of them so far, but then I stopped doing it for a while. So, but going forward, after I get monetized, I'll probably do it like on a regular basis or like a monthly basis. So, but yeah, that'll
That's
probably be.
great, because you have a lot of talent in that area, and you're
Oh,
around a lot of talented people. So
oh,
yeah,
thank you.
you definitely should.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Um, what was I gonna say? Um, so yeah, again, you know, Mocha, I just want to again sort of, you know, thank you for coming back to the channel. I do appreciate it. You know, definitely one of my favorite guests on here. And so yeah, I'm very grateful to have you back on. Um, so I just also had a question too, since since you especially seem to know a lot more about the subject. What do you know about the YouTube algorithm? Like in terms of like how it works in terms of, you know what I mean, like selecting, or, you know, like more exposure, you know, for my videos and whatnot. Like how does one sort of beat the algorithm, or if there's such a thing?
Well, number one, kind of watching your analytics, watching what your subscribers watch. And then number two, like you said, collaborating with other content creators, like you said. And to me, like 1,500 is still relatively small, like in YouTube terms, right? 1,500 subscribers is still relatively small. But it looks like the algorithm gods like twice weekly uploads, because like a lot of the content creators my subscribers watch upload like twice a week, like that Wednesday, Sunday. Like a lot of like the beauty bloggers or the lifestyle bloggers they're watching are like twice weekly. And then like a lot of the social commentary that they're watching uploads maybe twice weekly. They do a combination of edited videos and live streams, again, which makes it possible twice a week. And then they use other social media platforms to kind of cross pollinate. So there's, I'm trying to learn how to do that, like to have like a Mocha Mommy Twitter, a Mocha Mommy Instagram, a Mocha Mommy YouTube channel. And that seems as if how like the larger monetized platforms seem to be growing. Because I'm seeing like a lot more TikToks, like even if they're like which is odd because it's like they're other people's content, they're compiling other people's content and creating shorts from that, and people are watching those. Your shorts are really good. I have to start working on shorts. Like those are good. And that's another thing that even YouTube has says, like, hey, if you start getting shorts, your subscribers will probably engage. Like, and I've got to start doing that. I've got to start doing the shorts like you've been doing.
Yeah. Thank you for that. So twice weekly. Yeah, I know. We've actually, I think you mentioned that before. Twice weekly. I was just wondering because there's one video that I've been hitting really large numbers recently, a lot than I'm normally used to, which I'm not complaining about. I think it's great, and I hope it continues. But um, it's one video. It's called AMBW Couples Tag. It's the very first one that I did. It's with a couple that lives in Korea. We shot it like way back in May, so it was a little while ago, but I guess not that long ago. But it's just wondering because that if you look at the numbers, that's over like 13,000 views right now, and just a few weeks ago it was only at like 2,000 views, so it's shot up way up.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how or why. I haven't been promoting that at all. I've been doing interview after interview after interview, and I haven't done a couples tag in I don't know how long now. So I was just wondering, like, why are things like that so popular? Or like, would you have any ideas to maybe like analytics or why something like that would be, receiving more exposure or anything like that? Or
Well, I think, well, for my audience, I've been getting a lot of study abroad questions, right? What's it like for Black women in other countries, especially now that traveling is opening up? So that's maybe one thing too. I hope that we can collaborate on because the interest in international travel is spiking because people now can travel. So anything that has to do with overseas is just trending right now because people are now able to do the study abroad programs. People are now able to take vacations. Right now, I have a lot of like young professionals who want to know what it's like to study abroad, to live abroad, to work abroad, because those options are now open where they weren't last year, 2 years ago, because of, Bud Light and everything. So I think that that's going to trend right now. Anything international is going to trend because people can travel now. And also, you only live once. So who knows, like with everything that's going on, if you're going to even be able to travel in the future. So people are really interested now in travel because it's opened up.
sorry. Okay, yeah, very interesting. Let me write that down really quickly. Just take note of that. Travel. Yeah, it's very interesting. I did not know that. I was just wondering, like, why in the hell is that video? Like, I mean, obviously, right now, it's the most viewed video on my channel. But it's just it's interesting because it's like, dang, that video was kind of dormant for a while, and then all of a sudden, it just spiked up. I think, yeah, the other night I hit like the highest of hours watched. I hit like 130 hours watched in one day, and a lot of it was because of that video. I was like, oh, like what about it? This video is so
Yeah.
it's so interesting. I mean, it's fine, but I don't know. But
Right.
yeah. So
I mean, one person who I found through you was Lady V, and I'm like, so we've been kind of going back and forth in like her comment section of her videos because she was doing like tacos. And I was like, we've got to collaborate because she keeps saying California has the best tacos. And me being in Texas, I highly doubt that. So I'm like, me and you, we have to do this out. We have to battle this out. Who has the best tacos? Texas versus California. So I'm really hoping that I can connect with her in the future so we can settle this battle once and for all. And then she will agree that Texas has the better tacos. But no, but it's like, because travel content is trending.
Travel content. Okay, yeah, I think I definitely take note of that. let's see what else here. Is your, I know that like the last time we collaborated, we did a group panel together, but I was just wondering, is that something that you're interested in doing more for your channel as well? Do you, you know, have you done a lot of group panels, or would you be interested in doing that, something like that, or?
I have done a group panel, and it was like with some of the femininity content creators, and it was called Classy Clapbacks. And so basically, it was just like conflict resolution strategies, because I know that sometimes as Black women, we sometimes get unfairly stereotyped when we deal with conflict. Oh, they're going to be loud, they're going to be angry, they're going to be aggressive. So sometimes Black women don't engage at all, right? And they let offenses go. So it's like, how can you not resort to, not fall into the stereotype, but still voice your displeasure in a way that resolves the conflict instead of creates another one. So like my group panel on the Classy Clapback, I really did use those femininity content creators to really help me with that one. Because especially, I live in Texas, but natively I'm a New Yorker. We are not used to clapping back in the most classy way, especially if you grew up in like the 80s and 90s. We're not. So I knew I wasn't the expert on that. But so that's why I made it a point to bring those other content creators on so that I can improve to help them improve. I'm also going to be having, hopefully, I'm trying to organize another like healthy boundaries type of live stream too, where I can talk to another content creator who really deals in conflict resolution, and another person who does like mental health, to kind of help my young audience with some of that stuff, because I think boundaries are important, but you don't want to cut people off. You want those boundaries to be healthy. So, I mean, that's something that we all need practice with. I'm well into my 40s and I need help with that. So, I mean, we can all just grow in this area together.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, no, that'd be great. You know, I guess for me personally, like I enjoy doing group panels. Going forward, I'm not sure if I'm gonna do much more of them, because I feel like I don't want to take focus away from the short films, and that is my main interest in for this channel going forward. But I mean, like I do love doing group panels though, and so maybe one day again. I was just gonna say, so let's see here. So yeah, so I had a couple of questions for you in terms of branding and all that stuff and like marketing. I know you mentioned social media is like a good way to promote, you know, the channel and to get, you know, to get more exposure through like Instagram or Twitter or Twitch or Snapchat, whatever you were using nowadays. I'm not active on Instagram or Twitter. I have a Facebook, um, but I don't use, like, I don't even know what Snapchat really is because I've never used it. But let's see here. So what, I guess, like you said, I know that, you know, you mentioned those ways. Um, can you, are there any other ways that you know, like, of how to sort of, you know, get my brand out there, or sort of, you know, maybe help to, yeah, get, just in general, get more exposure? Um, because I know for me personally that my target audience is kind of a very niche audience. You know, I mean, obviously we're called the AMBW channel, so we focus on a very specific topic. Although that topic does have a lot of followers and a lot of, you know, people who are interested in that, it can be very niche. So I was just wondering, like, for me specifically, would you have any tips on how to sort of expand my brand a little bit, or sort of, you know, cater to like a more wider, like, general audience for that?
Sure. Well, some of the things that I think I really like that you incorporated was the movie reviews, and the fact that you have so many actors and directors in your circle. I bet if you were to do a movie review with someone who's in that field and have them talk about a little bit of the technical side of it, and then because you're called AMBW, right? Maybe an Asian man and a Black woman review a film together, because now you get your brand, AMBW, and then you also get to ride the wave of the trend of whatever film is trending right now and people who are doing the reviews of that. So I think that's one thing you can do, because that's an incredible advantage that you have your network of artists, you know. So, and I also think possibly having Asian men and Black women maybe not always just discuss romance, but also kind of discuss like current events or trending topics. Because it seems as if the gossip channels get a lot of traction. Now, I tend to stay away from it just because of my, I guess, ideological / religious views on gossip, you know. But I do know that it's a way to build yourself up in the algorithm, and you can even propel yourself even further than I'll ever go, because I won't touch that subject. But in that way, I won't touch that subject in that way. Like who's doing what and which celebrity's doing what. I really don't. That's not my thing. Even though I get asked about it a lot. So maybe perhaps an Asian man and a Black woman and their view on certain viral topics.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah, for sure. I've actually also contemplated like first like movie reviews and stuff like that. I enjoy doing it. I don't enjoy doing it as much as I thought I would, but maybe that's because I like, you know, like you said, like for a lot of these things, it's just me. You know, I just feel like it's like I said before, it's easier for me to bounce off of someone else. Um, and also maybe I might want to consider getting like other talent, or you know, talent on who's comfortable being on camera doing this kind of stuff, because it kind of tires me out sometimes. I have a life outside of this too, so it's like it's hard for me to keep up all the time. But yeah. So Mocha Mommy, how's your family doing? How's your daughter still in sorry,
I
you said she's currently in school right now still, or
Oh my God. It's been so emotional because I have a senior.
oh,
I have a
okay,
daughter that's a senior.
okay.
And even though we know she's not going to go off to college, right? Because we have kind of discussed that as a family. You know, I've discussed it on the channel, why we're not going to make that decision, but it's still a little emotional. Like, you know, um, both of my daughters are now working. So they, you know, they're learning, you know, my oldest one can drive, the youngest one is learning to drive. And it was so crazy. Like last night, the older one was helping the younger one do like her stuff with her learner's permit. And I'm like, oh my God, I was changing your diapers yesterday. So it's been like emotional. It's been so emotional, like dealing with the fact that they're growing up, and, you know, and even though I'm proud of them, there's still like a part of you, like as a mom, who's gonna like, I don't know, like I definitely don't think I could do what my parents did, you know, because my parents, once we moved out of the house, my parents fostered and raised a whole nother set of kids. But I don't know if I could do that, but at the same time, it's like coming to the realization that your babies are not babies anymore.
Yeah. Although I can't necessarily relate to that right now at the moment. I do want kids one day, but like, yeah, no, that's great. I think time flies, right? And so I can just, I guess, you know, for me the closest thing would be like, you know, my cousins, or you know what I mean, like my like relatives, whatever, that you know started out very little obviously, and now they're, you know, graduating college and or high school and getting married and all that stuff. It's just crazy. I was at my cousin's wedding a few years back, and still it's like it's kind of surreal to think that, you know, he went from this little guy to like just being a full-grown adult and now getting married and stuff. It's kind of surreal. um but that's cool though. I mean, that's great. No. um okay, so I just had a couple questions for you, Mocha Mommy, and it's just like I'm not sure if we touched upon this. I think we did a little bit, but not really that much in depth. And if you don't mind, I'd like to ask them, and I'm not trying to pry or anything like that, but I just serve with genuine curiosity. Um, so it was so am I mistaken? I'm not mistaken, right? You are in a interracial marriage?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay. And is your husband, I think you said that he's white, right?
No, he's Latino.
Oh, he's Latino. Oh, okay. That's cool. Um, hmm, yeah, that's interesting. And I guess like for you, right? Like obviously you've obviously you have been married for a while and you've had a family for a while. But I was just curious, like in terms of like the for you personally, like the complexities of, if there if any, if there were any for you, what were sort of the complexities of interracial dating for you, or interracial dating slash marriage or whatever, anything like that? Were there any sort of concerns that you had going into it? Anything that sort of issues that arose that you guys had to deal with or anything like that early on, or?
Um, yeah, there are definitely still like things that you see, where it's different, that we have different cultural experiences, right? And I mean, I know, like, I was on a panel and one of the guys in the panel was like, oh, interracial dating is really not a big deal except around food. And that is the most true thing. Like, you are most acutely aware that you were in an interracial relationship around food, because the part of the Puerto Rico that my husband comes from is very rural. It's like in the mountains. So typically when he would go to the grocery store, this is early in our marriage when we were like newlyweds. Typically when he would go to the grocery store, he would, you would have to ask all the old people in the neighborhood, did they need anything? And then you would kind of like go down the mountain to go buy the groceries. And you talk to all the shop owners, you talk to the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. So grocery shopping is like this social thing. Well, being American, that's not true. We go and we get what we're going to get and we leave. So I remember like being in the grocery store for hours with him, like, because he was talking to everybody and looking at everything. And I'm like, what are you doing? So it was really, I remember that like specifically from our newlywed days. And even just now, like, and I think too, some of this might have to do with male and female and not necessarily race. Like when it came to our wedding anniversary, when we celebrated 19 years, we know we're going to have a trip for our 20th. So I asked him what he wanted. And I said, let's do like a small romantic gesture. You know what he said he wanted? He said he wanted an impact wrench. I was like, how romantic is a wrench? But he was like, oh, when I have an impact wrench, I'll fix something. And then you say, oh, thank you, baby. And that's romance. And that was like so funny to me, the way he interprets romance with tools. Like that was hilarious to me. But it's just like those little things like that where you see your differences as a couple. But when you think on it, it's really silly. Like that, those things are a big deal at that time. But when you think back on it, you realize like you're gonna laugh about it later.
That's interesting. I was just doing a interview with what was her name? The girl from the Caribbean, Desmona, the other day, and she was talking to me about her experiences with, dating and whatnot, and like, quote unquote different love languages, I guess, that people have. So, which to me personally, love language is not a term that I use frequently because it's something that I only just caught wind of just a couple of few years ago or so. Um, but it is interesting to note how, it varies from person to person how people, express, affection or love or interpret that, sort of thing. Um, for me personally, I feel like what would be my love language? I don't know. I guess like for me, I'm not really sure if I have that kind of thing or not. I guess I've only sort of felt, I guess, sort
Yeah.
of affection or romantic love for one other person, just one person, and that wasn't even really a relationship. But we started going out. We went out a couple times, and it's kind of funny because like that's like that experiences with her was like nothing. I mean, in terms of like the number of dates and relationships and stuff like that I've been in, more recently. But like I can honestly say that the couple times that I went out with like I'm just gonna say her name because I've talked about her in like every other video on the channel, Adriana. I went out with her only twice, and that was over 10 years ago. That was like early 2011. And like I said before many times on this channel, she's the only person I've ever loved or been in love with or whatever. I don't know, she probably doesn't feel the same way, but yeah, I don't know, I mean, like in terms of love language, I've never really, I don't know if I really expressed it or not. for me, it's just sort of, I guess, like romantic love is sort of more something that like I more internalized, and I don't really, I'm not the type of person who buys, people things, or like anything like that, or I'm not like I'm not like completely like lacking in the whole like being a gentleman or like chivalrous department, but it's just like yeah, I don't know like that love, but it is interesting though that term love language. Because I guess I don't know who sort of coined that term or not,
Yeah. So
but
I
yeah.
think there's a book, and they say that there's 7 of them, and it's like one of them is like affection, acts of service, gifts, quality time. So different people have currency in different areas. So I know, like in like a lot of in the faith community, a lot of time before you get married, you would have to take like some kind of like pre-marriage counseling, right? Where before you get married, you have to kind of sit with, I guess like a priest or a pastor or a spiritual mentor, and you have to kind of talk about your expectations and love languages. So for me, I guess my quote unquote love language would have been affection, but for him, it's affection as well. And then for some people, it's acts of service. So some people, like, oh, I see she's having a bad day. Let me do the dishes. If that's usually something she does, or like, they may do something like I have we have another couple friend that we're with. He always likes to like do things for her and build things for her because she loves like handmade gifts because she knows the effort he put behind it. So he always makes an effort to do that for her, because that's just their love language. So yeah, I mean, I remember that was like a big thing in like the early 2000s, but I think it's important to know like what your partner needs from you, so you can meet those needs. Because again, just because you love each other doesn't mean you know everything about each other at every minute of the day. So that's why the communication is so important. And, now that the kids are older, we've been taking the time to communicate a little bit more about what it is we want to do and where it is we want to go and catch up with the things that we haven't gotten a chance to do because we were raising kids. So it's almost like being a newlywed again, because we're still like, we're going out on dates with each other again, and we're hanging out with each other again, and we're staying up late watching, you know, watching television and watching baseball games again on the West Coast because we don't have to get up in the morning because the kids can get themselves up. So it's been kind of cool. It's actually like having to redefine your relationship all over again.
It was really interesting. And like I said, I know a lot of the couples have been married for a while that they go out or whatever, and they have date night. Like my parents, or they do that sometimes too, or a lot. And so it's very interesting. It's kind of interesting. Like a topic that you just brought up now. It's like especially couples who have been married for a really long time, sort of reigniting. I won't say reigniting that passion, but you know what I mean. Oh yeah, sure. Why not? Reigniting that passion, or sort of what I mean, just like like in general, enjoying each other's company and enjoying the little things and all that stuff. Because I feel like for me personally, that's kind of like that's kind of like the most exciting time, in like a relationship, or the whole like dating process. I can't speak for married couples because I'm not there yet, but just sort of like yeah, just enjoying the little things with each other. You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as you're doing it together. And I know that's been said countless times, but it is true. You can be stuck in traffic or whatever, rush hour traffic, but then you look over to the person next to you, and it's like, oh, I'm here with this person, so I'm actually kind of enjoying this this time with you or whatever. So
Yeah,
hmm.
it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun all over again, and it's like we've been watching like this show together, and it's like on Apple TV, like this Ted Lasso. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but we've been just cracking up laughing because our experience in having coaching our kids' little league, and then kind of watching this guy coach this team, kind of not really knowing what he's doing. I'm like, oh man, we've been there. And it's funny, we have that shared memory and that shared experience. So it makes it even funnier to us because we've had that experience. And it's like, and it's crazy because it's like, he really is a very funny person. But he has a very serious job and sometimes a serious disposition. So it's kind of good to see his sense of humor again.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think that's definitely, like I said, I'm not married yet. I would like to get married one day, start a family, but not there yet. But I would imagine that that's sort of, oh, I literally just had a thought right now. Oh, never mind. It's gone. Never mind. My thought is gone. Okay, well, um, no, but like I said, yeah, it's definitely something that I look forward to. You know what I mean? And even when it comes to just like going on dates or whatever, or like being in a relationship and not married yet, it is. It's I enjoy it. It does add something to your life. And you know what I mean. That sort of brings me to my next point. It's like, what do you think of that phrase when someone says, "Oh, quote unquote," that they don't need a man or that they don't need a woman, anything like that. But then you look at other people and they're just like star-crossed lovers. You know what I mean? Like they just have like hearts in their eyes and stuff like that, and they're totally happy with someone else. And I was just wondering, like for you, like what do you make of that? That sort of that mindset where it's like, yeah, or maybe I just got out of like a really bad toxic relationship, or I've been in a relationship for a while and have been single for a while, so now I'm single and I'm enjoying it. Like, what do you sort of make of that? Because for me, I always sort of like to say, oh, like you're just kind of full of shit. You know what I mean? Like people who say, well, they don't need anyone, they don't need anyone, but then they end up with someone right away. You know what I mean? Or that maybe deep down they do want someone. And I've always, like I said to
Yeah.
you, yeah, I've always thought that sort of phrase kind of has no meaning. So what do you make of that?
Well, I do think that there are some people who like their own space and they like their own routine. And they may want company here and there, but they're not very willing to accommodate someone else's needs. And those people should be self-aware enough to stay single. Um, but then there are people who do want someone and who do want that. Um, I think that is going to take. I take that there's some level of like self-cultivation, and then a huge level of bravery that takes to own up to that. So again, I see both sides. I see people who may be very content. My older sister is one of those people. Like after she got divorced, she's like, never again. She's like, never again. And it's because she loves her routine. And even when you're married to an amazing person, a great person, a person who makes you laugh that you have a lot in common with, it's still really hard. And for some people, the payout's not worth it. Like, even all the great things I get still comes with its share of hardships, right? It still comes with its share of hardships, sharing a budget with someone, sharing a space with someone, sharing, even just sharing a room with somebody who might not have the same standard of organization and cleanliness that you may have. Those things are still challenging, even though we love each other. And then there's some people that's not enough of a trade-off. So I think that there are some people who don't want a relationship, and that's okay. And we should totally normalize that. But for the people who do, there needs to be a sense of self-awareness as far as what you want out of a relationship, how much of your routine you're actually willing to alter. And I think that's why so many couples fight over money, right? How much of your routine are you willing to alter? Like, I mean, I know with both me and my husband being athletes, he will not really nitpick me on how much I spend on running shoes. I won't really nitpick him with how much he spends on sporting equipment because I understand the priority. Can you imagine if I didn't? That'd be a source of conflict. So again, that takes a lot of self-awareness. And, a lot of times they say birds of a feather flock together. And, we have a couple in our circle who's getting divorced now, right? And it's really sad. And a lot of it had to do with he just had a different set of financial priorities. He ran up like $20,000 in credit card debt or something crazy like that. And it was a huge source of conflict. And my husband's like, $20,000? They could have had a swimming pool. Because to him, home improvement projects are his currency. So I just kind of laughed like when he said that, because clearly that's not exactly what he would do with $20,000, because that's just the kind of guy he is. He's very into home improvement. But other couples, they gotta really figure out how much they're willing to bend to the other person's wants or needs.
Yeah, that's interesting. And sort of like branching off of like something that you just said, like I do feel like if you are, really interested and feel like you are quote unquote ready to date again or ready for a relationship or whatever, that you should not do it if you are a selfish person. And I've had that experience where, I've met one or two people like that who are just very selfish people. And in the end, it didn't really hurt anyone, but it kind of backfired on me, or not backfired on me, but it kind of affected me in a more negative way. And I felt like I just wasted my time with this person, and it was just nothing good. But yeah, no, yeah. So I definitely agree with you that there's nothing wrong. Excuse me. There's nothing necessarily wrong with being single or being alone. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do feel like there's something wrong with if you are just sort of dragging someone's feet and you're wasting someone's time. Even when you are quote unquote say that you are ready to date, but you're really not, or you're looking for different things, or you're just a selfish person in general. I think that's
Yeah.
what's wrong. Yeah, I think that's what's wrong with like dating nowadays. It's like people dating has just become kind of a waste of time, like in a lot of ways.
Well,
And
yeah, I'm gonna say yes and no. And I think that's kind of why I want to have this boundaries conversation. Like, yes, there are a lot of people who waste time, but then at the same time, what are your boundaries so your time doesn't get wasted? And I know when I was on that panel, I kind of came across, one of the panelists said you come across judgmental, right? And it's like, I kind of see what it is you're saying and why you would say that. But at the same time, that's what stops my time from being wasted. You see? Like if I say, I'm not going to date a non-believer, that stops our time from being wasted, right? You may say that's judgmental because he could be a really great guy. He could, or he couldn't. You know what I mean? If the bottom line is, if I say I'm not going to do this, it stops my time from being wasted. So I think that's why it's also important too, to have those boundaries. Like if there's somebody who's not marriage minded, or cut it off right away, stop your time from being wasted. So I think that it's a two-way street. Yes, there are selfish people. Yes, there are people who waste your time. But what can you do to make sure that your time isn't being wasted? And a lot of times that's having your criteria and being upfront about it. And when you see those things immediately, to disengage. And I know that people think that that's wrong and that it's cruel and that it's judgmental. But in actuality, it saves you and that person a lot of frustration. And, I kind of say like, well, people would say that like, oh, he could be a nice guy if he's a non-believer. He could be. I could go out and I could look for a needle in the haystack. Or I can be a part of a singles ministry, which is like going to the fabric store and wading through all the needles. Like, why waste my time if I know that is not my priority and if I know that's not my standard? It might seem judgmental to that needle that's in the haystack, but at the same time, I'm not going to waste my time. So I think that it's okay to have standards, and it's okay to have boundaries, and it's okay to cut people off. It's okay to not give someone the benefit of the doubt, because guess what? Who benefits? They do, not you.
yeah.
So it's okay to cut that off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's totally what I kind of hate having to do this every time. I'm gonna plug my book again. And just like I said, I wrote a book on online dating. It's on sale right now, smashwords.com. But no, that's basically what I say also in that book. It's like, one of the objectives, or two of the objectives in terms of dating, if you are looking for something serious, should be find, keep trying until it happens, right? Don't give up, don't settle for anything less than that. And B, don't waste your own time. Because that's something that I made a mistake when I was especially when I was in my 20s. It got a little bit better when now that I'm, in my 30s, but when I was in my 20s, that was something that I did all the time. And I did what, everyone, pretty much everybody on this planet does when they're, that young or that age. You know, I ended up wasting my time because I was like, oh, I'm just gonna put myself out there and see what goes, see what happens. For me personally, I find that if I allow that, if I adopt that kind of mindset and allow people to do that, I'm not gonna end up anywhere. Because for me personally, I'm not gonna, without going too much into detail about it, I know it works for me, and I know, how not to waste my time. I know how to, it doesn't happen every time, but usually get what I want. And just sort of, basically, I don't think you've said this yet, but like, yeah, just or maybe you have, but like, filter out, certain characteristics and qualities and red flags or whatever that you need to watch out for. Because if you don't filter them out, then you will end up wasting your time. And I feel like if I had just done, if I just done that, like, when I started dating, um, aside from Adriana, I think it would have gone a lot better for me. But it's okay. I mean, I had to wait like extra 10 years or so until I hit 30. So it was just, to sort of wisen up and realize what I had to do for myself in order to, be in a relationship or find someone who's looking for the same thing that I was looking for, and not flake out or waste my time or lie or anything like that. Because I've done this, I've interviewed other women, and they're like, well, yeah, the main reason that women lie or up front is, because of our own safety. And I'm like, okay, but I mean, it's just kind of like, I do understand that. I do understand being concerned about your own well-being, and it's fine. But at the same time, I'm kind of not really okay with that, because it's like, you're basically saying, just for your own well-being, or you want to make an excuse, say, oh, I don't want to, be unsafe or be threatened or anything like that. Who's to say you will be threatened, or who's to say that your life will be in danger if you are upfront about someone, you don't drag them along, anything like that. And I feel like that mindset of making up that kind of which is, I'm gonna say it is kind of an excuse, is detrimental to the guy as well. And I talked to someone else who sort of agrees with me as well on this channel, and I feel like, again, I have a sister, I have a mother, I have friends who, they're not my friends who are women, but just other relatives who are women. And yeah, and of course, my mom is married, but in general, I know women, and I do care about them. I'm not a misogynist or anything like that, but I am saying that when it comes to dating, that nobody should really lie. Nobody should really purposely waste someone's time because, quote unquote, they're afraid for their own safety. I'm sorry, I have to kind of call bullshit on that. That's just, it's ridiculous. Just because, you know what I mean?
Well, safety falls into two categories: your physical safety and then your emotional safety, right? Um, do I think that you should lie? No. But do I think that there are ways that you can better communicate that? Absolutely. And I think that that is something that we all can improve. Because I think that there are guys who do things that are for their own emotional safety, right? How they may not be emotionally available to certain people, and how they may not be as willing to be as open or to be as great of a listener or communicator because they're protecting their emotional safety. So it definitely happens on both sides. So that's why I kind of encourage people to like ease into dating and keep it casual, because you need to know those boundaries, right? And then when you have those boundaries, you can better communicate them, and then that other person can decide if it's worth it, right? You put the ball back in their court, which is why I appreciate guys who are very upfront as opposed to those men who are duplicitous, right? I appreciate when a guy is upfront, because then guess what? That protects my emotional safety. And I can say, you know what? This person's already communicated that. But then there are a lot of people who ignore those red flags. Like, that saying that Oprah has, right? People are who they tell you they are, or whatever that phrase, whatever she uses. But, people are who they say, something like that. So really listen to those things. Really listen to those things. Because sometimes actions do speak louder than words. People are who they say they are. If they say, I'm not looking for something serious right now, and then you get emotionally involved with that person, they did say that they weren't looking for anything serious. So that's why you should keep it pushing and not feel bad about it. And like I said, giving someone the benefit of the doubt, it only benefits them. So really make sure that you're looking for those red flags. Sometimes I think men may have a harder time with that than women do. Honestly, I think if the girl is pretty enough, I think sometimes men do ignore red flags.
Yeah, I don't ignore red flags, but no, I just you know, like I said, I'm not still holding on to it or anything like that, but I feel like looking back on it now, like most of my bad experiences, so let's be honest, they were all bad. With dating in my 20s is like, it were all bad because of the people I was going after, and also because of where I was meeting them from. And it's one thing to say, I'm looking for this up front or whatever at the very start of it. That's fine. If you're looking for something serious, then I'm gonna assume that you're looking for something serious. But this kept happening where I was just like girl after girl after girl. And I want to stress was because past tense, because it doesn't happen to me anymore, thankfully. But it used to happen where I kept meeting girls who were just not up front or just were just so quote unquote young and dumb. You know what I mean? It was just like, and that's why I state in my book, it's like, try not to go out to younger women because they'll typically just end up wasting your time. And for me, they wasted my time because it was like I put in the time, I put in the hours, I put in the effort and the interest, getting to know these people. And yeah, I got attached. But I feel like I don't know. What I'm about to say is probably going to sound really misogynistic, but it's not. I don't personally think it is, but it might sound that way. I feel like women are bigger players than men, and I feel like the dating game has changed to the point where you are not even allowed to call women out on that. Right. For me, I personally feel like women can easily detach themselves and not get attached and pull away right away. And you know what I mean? Like people don't want to admit it, maybe because men, especially guys, especially don't want to admit it because it makes them less, seem less masculine or, machismo or whatever. But it's like, yeah, I feel like in general, guys are probably more sensitive than women are. Like women, like I said before, women are bigger players than men. And so, um, in my book, I say, okay, well, don't try not. Age does matter. If you date someone, if you date, if you're talking to, or whatever, a girl in her 30s or woman in her 30s as opposed to a girl in her 20s, there's a stark difference because that woman in her 30s has more life experience and she might know what she wants more. And when she says she's looking for something serious, that usually means she's looking for something serious, as opposed to a girl in her 20s who says the same thing. I'm looking for something serious, but then ends up fucking window shopping and then ditches your ass or ghosts you or whatever. It's like there are so many things that, like you said, like you just said, you know what I mean? Like we as people overlook because of how attractive the other person is.
Yeah, I do agree with that. Well,
Um,
I'm not gonna because I know we only have a few minutes before we have to go, but do you know the because I bring this up a lot on my channel because again, some of my followers have the same faith background as I do. Do you know like the story of Samson and Delilah? Do you know that
no.
story? Okay. So basically, there is this guy that God anoints with all this strength. All right, he anoint him with all this strength, but over and over again, he keeps picking like the same type of women, right? So the enemy of his people, the enemy of Israel, his people, find this woman who they know he has a weakness for, and they give her 1,000 pieces of silver to find out the secret of his strength. And then this Samson ends up being imprisoned, right? He ends up being imprisoned by the enemy forces. And eventually he does prevail, but he prevails in his death as opposed to prevailing in his life like people who followed his anointing thought he would. And early in his life, you see there's a conversation with his mother. This is in the book of Judges, around like chapter 13. Early in his life, his mom was like, "Are you sure this is the kind of woman you want to go after?" And he's like, "Yeah." She's kind of like, of all the 12 tribes of Israel, this is who you choose? Because he didn't choose someone from his same faith background. He chose someone different. And then it ended up backfiring on him multiple times until finally the enemy knew, this is how I'm going to trap you. So I think too, when we say like, oh, women are players or blah, 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 take a step back for a second before you say, take a step back for a second and look at, are you making the same mistake over and over again? And I would say the same thing to women. Like, take a step back and find out if you're dating different versions of the same person. And if the enemy is putting the same people in front of you. Like, you know, and for you to learn the lesson. I would say the same thing to men and women, right? So again, that might, even though I'm not saying that people shouldn't be accountable for their behavior, because they should be. But at the same time, when we look at Delilah, right, she was literally paid to execute a certain plan. So we can't say, oh, she's not accountable. She was actually 100% accountable. She was paid to take that guy off of his game. Are you dealing with a bunch of Delilahs in your life? If you're a man or a woman, are you dealing with a bunch of Delilahs? Because there are some people who are out here to take you off of your game. And that's when you have to take that step back to evaluate. Because yes, you're right, it was wrong. Yes, you're right if that person was duplicitous. You're right, that person misrepresented themselves. You're right, but you can keep on thinking that, or you can take a step back and think, okay, how can I prevent this from happening again? Or am I finding myself repeating the same patterns? And I tell women to ask that question to themselves over and over again. And also knowing that doesn't mean to be afraid either. Don't be afraid either. Just because that exists, don't be afraid.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And yeah, I just want to make it clear, I wasn't for everyone watching. Again, I love women, I respect women, all that stuff. So when I say that, you know, women are bigger players than men, like, that's just coming from my personal experience, but it's not necessarily to, you know, throw shade at all women or anything like that. I just think it's an interesting viewpoint that doesn't really get brought up a whole lot. But okay, well, yeah, I'm gonna end it because I know you have to go. It's like right around you're like almost around 12:15 p.m. your time. So I'll let you go. But I did really enjoy this conversation a lot, Mocha Mommy. This actually comes at a very interesting time because, like I said, I'm in about a week or two, I'll probably hit those numbers and then I'll apply for monetization. So like I said, during that time or after that time, I won't be doing as many interviews.
Right.
But I would still like to continue doing them and have you come on the channel. I can also send you the list of contacts that I have that I think that you know that be I think you would really like for your channel.
Oh yeah.
Including Gigi. I think I would love to see Gigi more. I'd love to hear her stories more and, you know, see her
Right.
more and stuff like that. So she's a really interesting person. But I do want to thank you very much for coming back on the channel. I always enjoy talking to you.
Yeah,
Um,
me
and
too.
and would love to have you come back on eventually as well. What was I going to say? Yeah, so everyone watching, if you're not subscribed to my channel or her channel, the links are down below. So subscribe to Mocha Mommy's channel. She talks about a wide variety of subjects, not just, you know, like my channel, AMBW Romance, but she talks about a lot of very interesting things, and her interviews and lives are always great. So check out her stuff, her channel, subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Again, Mocha Mommy, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you,
Thank you.
especially the advice you gave on the algorithm and, you know, traveling being popular as it is. I really do appreciate it.
Yeah.
Definitely, I have those written down, so I'm gonna follow
Okay.
those points from now on. But yeah, guys. Well, I do want to thank you guys for watching it. If you made it this far, please like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell if you haven't already, so you can get notified every time I upload a new video such as this. And again, thank you very much. And Mocha Mommy, till next time.